I haven't had to buy fertilizer for my garden in nearly 2 years. I make my own compost, and on top of that, I make my own liquid fertilizer. And I have lots of reasons to believe that it works pretty well. Come on by and I'll show you how I make it. Hopefully it works for you too. There are lots of reasons to go organic when you're fertilizing your garden versus synthetic chemicals. First and foremost is you're not only feeding your plants, you're feeding your soil itself. Your soil has a whole ecosystem of microbes that are living down there, and they work in symbiosis with the plant roots. So if you have healthy soil, you're gonna have good plants. Organic fertilizers support a healthy soil ecosystem. Synthetic fertilizers may work on just your plants. They may provide the NPK, but they're gonna kill off any kind of soil microbes. So organic gardening really is the best choice. I make my own liquid fertilizer. It started with worm tea because I like to compost with worms. I use their castings to brew a tea. Since then, I'm also a fisherman, so I can bring home a lot of fish. Instead of throwing away the carcass, I started recycling the carcasses into a fish hydrolysate. It's not heat treated, it's only broken down by fungal and bacteria microbes. From there, I started collecting kelp, also when I was out fishing or exploring the beach. I also even ordered Comfrey starters from my local gardening center because Comfrey is a dynamic accumulator. It has a lot of potassium in their leaves. So it's a really good thing to compost with, and an even better thing to make a compost tea with. So I grow that in my backyard. I'm also gonna collect some more seaweed because I make a fertilizer out of it. 10 pounds per day. I might as well grab this broken stuff. It's broken off on the main holdfast. It's the good stuff to harvest. Alright, it's filled with rainwater. I've been collecting rainwater from one of our gutters. I'm just gonna let it cap it and ferment for a couple weeks. I'll get back at you. Homemade liquid kelp fertilizer is packed with essential nutrients and minerals that provide healthy plant growth. It contains a wide range of macro and micronutrients, including nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, calcium, magnesium, and trace elements necessary for plant development. Kelp fertilizer also contains natural growth hormones like auxins. These hormones help stimulate cell division, promote root growth, and encourage overall plant vigor. As a result, plants treated with kelp fertilizer often exhibit stronger root systems, increased shoot growth, and enhanced resilience. All right, there are 10 quality rockfish fillets, boneless fillets in there, 5 complete carcasses in there, 5 complete carcasses in there. Let's just give them a lot of the molasses. Homemade fish hydrolysate is a nutrient-dense organic fertilizer that provides essential nutrients for plant growth. It contains a balanced combination of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, as well as trace elements and micronutrients necessary for healthy plant development. Fish hydrolysate promotes vigorous plant growth, leading to larger and healthier plants. The nutrients present in this fertilizer support robust root development, lush foliage, and abundant flower or fruit production, resulting in higher yields and overall productivity. My Comfrey patch is doing really good, so I'm going to cut back this patch and make some fertilizer with it. Alright, this is my biggest haul of Comfrey yet. A lot. I'm going to get out my chipper, see if I can shred this. That went a lot better than I thought it would. That huge pile of Comfrey actually made it through the shredder. Now, really successful. Good surface area on it, broken down like this. I've never done it before. Not necessary, but I'm glad it worked. All right, there's the Comfrey tea, day 1. Just put in some dechlorinated water. Homemade liquid Comfrey fertilizer is rich in essential nutrients that promote robust plant growth. Comfrey leaves contain high levels of potassium, nitrogen, and phosphorus, along with other trace elements and minerals necessary for healthy plant development. The high potassium content in Comfrey fertilizer promotes flowering and fruiting in many plants. Potassium is essential for the development of flowers, fruits, and seeds. By applying liquid Comfrey fertilizer, you can encourage abundant blooms and enhance the quality and quantity of fruits, and vegetables. Alright, this is a stinky process. For the first few weeks at least, the fish really stinks, the Comfrey stinks the whole way through. I've never experienced a really horrible smell with the kelp. But what's happening right here, everything is basically just rotting. It's breaking down. It's using microorganisms to naturally ferment. Those are bacteria and yeast. Yeast is just single-celled fungi. Those are naturally existing all over the world. They're existing outside in the air, so every time I open it to check it, they existed on it before I put it in there. So right now, these are all just naturally fermenting. I haven't looked at these. Everything just needs weeks. See, look at that. That is the fish. Whoa, that is pungent. I should have something to stir that, but I don't. I'm just gonna show you. So there's one of the fish. But here's the final product of the fish. You strain it after I do 6 or 8 weeks, and then you strain it with chicken wire. I use 1/2-inch chicken wire, and you have a good soluble product. That's more fish. We don't need to see that. This one, which one is this one? This one, oh boy. Is that the Comfrey? Yeah, that's kind of gross. Yeah, yuckers. That's yucky. All right, the Comfrey. The Comfrey's great stuff. I had a special order the Comfrey just so I could start growing it on my own because of all its natural benefits. But again, the Comfrey, it turns to a mush. It's gonna take 4 weeks, 6 weeks to turn to a mush. At the end, you just strain it through the same strainer. I'll show you my strainer. This is my Comfrey. It's really dark and gross. Hey, puppy. That means I got 2 of those, 2 of those. That means this one's the seaweed. Yeah, this one's the kelp. The kelp really doesn't have an unpleasant odor, but it just breaks down the same way. You're just letting all of these turn to goop, turn to mush just by natural fermentation. Here, and that one goes there. And you just strain it off after they turn to goop. The longer you go, the better it is. I do compost with worms. Don't think I have any harvestable castings here, but luckily I've got plenty saved. Here's my worm compost tea. Here's some worm castings that I've been harvesting. I have it in a mesh bag, two cups of casting. I have water that's been sitting out overnight to hopefully get out the chlorine. I have an air bubbler. Remember, we're mimicking the microorganisms that are in your soil and they breathe air, so this needs to be an aerobic with oxygen, aerobic. I'm gonna add some molasses because we want to feed those microorganisms. We're gonna feed them sugar. As soon as this one's done tomorrow, I will dilute it into here, pour our other liquid fertilizers into here, and then I can hook up a hose to the bottom of this one and we'll fertilize the garden down below. And I have this up as high as possible, so I'm going to have the most pressure as possible. Worm tea is really about adding microorganisms to your fertilizer. You're not really increasing the level of nutrients, but you are going to be increasing the level of microorganisms. These worms don't actually eat my rotting food. It's microorganisms like bacteria and fungi that are doing the decomposition, then the worms eat those microorganisms. So with worm tea, we're just getting tons of microorganisms. As is, this is already good compost tea. This is ready to fertilize your garden. So if this is all you have or all you want to do, go for it. Start watering your garden as is since it's been diluted. Because I have other options, this is what I'm going to add. I showed you how I'm doing my most recent batch. This is from an old batch. I think this is 30 gallons. I'm not even sure. Either way, I'm going to put in a few cups. This is half a cup. Half, 1, 3. seaweed. I put a little bit in the worm tea, and I'm gonna put more in this. Lots of micronutrients. I also showed you how I made Comfrey tea. This is the Comfrey tea from one of my last batches. Because I naturally fermented everything, all 4 components are gonna be water soluble. Everything's gonna be immediately ready to the plant, or to the soil, really. So this is a perfectly immediately available liquid fertilizer. I know exactly where all the components came from. I know exactly how it's made. At this point, you just water in your liquid fertilizer as you would use your hose any other time. I'm doing it on a big scale, but you could totally do this with a 5-gallon bucket and a watering can. Other thing I'd recommend is to not do this into dry soil. I watered all my containers by hand yesterday, and all my raised beds are on drip irrigation every other day. So half of them got it this morning, half of them got it yesterday. So don't try to fertilize dry soil. It won't take. Only fertilize moist soil. Making your own liquid fertilizer is the most cost-effective way of getting the best product possible for your garden. Also, when you make it yourself, you get complete control over the ingredients. Since I use those 4 separate ingredients, I can tailor make each batch. If I know my plants are all fruiting and flowering, I know to give them something with more phosphorus. Or if everything's in an earlier stage, maybe I give them something with more nitrogen. You have total control over it. It's important to source your materials from somewhere ethical and sustainable. Everything I got meets those standards. If you're already a gardener, that probably means you already have some DIY in you. The next step should be to make your own liquid fertilizer. It's a lot of fun and it's really rewarding. Make sure you stay organic to foster microbial life in your soil. You can subscribe for similar based content. Before you leave, I'd love to hear your experiences making liquid fertilizer at home. What did you do differently? What would you do next time? If you have any questions or comments or suggestions for me, put them down in the comments and I'll read them and I'll get to them best I can. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.